Hey, here's a quick demo video for a plugin that I made. Templater for Writer and technically for all kinds of other JetBrains IDEs. I initially made it for Writer, I tested it with IntelliJ and Writer, though JetBrains is saying it works for all their other Java-based IDEs. So what is this plugin? If you are familiar with Obsidian, well, the most powerful and well-used plugin over there is Templater. Templater allows you to put certain templates into markdown files and then execute them. I was using Writer to edit my README files. Usually README, I do that in my Obsidian, but then I have to context switch between Writer and Obsidian. So I thought, why not just put Templater into Writer directly. So I have some example files to show you what it does. Here is the raw markdown, here it is rendered. You can see I have these templater variables, so I can select part of it. Well, I can select part of it, I can run it, it ran. If I don't select anything, it runs the whole document. So you can see it is all filled in now. There is a function that has a date, that is now. You can give it a sort of format. Same with these weekdays. Yeah, as you can see, it fills it in. There are a lot of other examples. So here are file functions. It fills in the file properties, file name, file title, file path, and this doc. Same with this. Let's skip this because it's going to copy the whole file, but you can get file metadata. File tags. So I have here my tags. Example test file operations. I get my tags from my front matter. So what is front matter? Front matter is this sort of metadata annotation that is common in Obsidian, but it's not an Obsidian specific thing. I think it's just Markdown. So you can set these variables, either just a string or numbers or an array of strings. Then you can get these sort of properties from you run the thing, you get the properties. So same here. The properties are taken from here, filled in here, and so that are the front matter functions. There is other stuff, so you can copy this, and if you have something in your clipboard, well, now this from my clipboard got inserted in there. You even have prompts, so prompt, what's your name, run, loop. Now we have this prompt with defaults, so I have my default here. And there is other things. There is even a enum drop down sort of box. So you get these boxes. Okay, and then option 1 is selected because that's the value. These are the key value pairs basically. there is some other stuff. There's a whole variable processor thing. So here is a script that appends stuff to a list. Here is a loop that creates a list. Let me show you, why not? Oop. So as you can see, it actually just generates a list and these things are executed. You can have conditional logic, so based on the time it tells you something like good afternoon. Whoop, it merged it into good evening. So yeah, I have that kind of stuff. That's the main functionality that templater in Obsidian also has. So yeah, I copied that into Writer and possibly other JetBrains EDAs. So if you're interested in how it works, there is an architecture documentation document that describes it. I tried to use some more esoteric Kotlin concepts. Basically, I'm not really a Kotlin developer, so I wanted to experiment with just some Kotlin functions. So for all these templater functions, there are handlers. So for every sort of function in here, there's a date, today, tomorrow, yesterday handler. Wait, why is this closed? Okay. And they are here. Date. There's a now handler. So yeah, this handler has a register handler attribute on top. It defines sort of a category, description, and an example. Then there is a code generator, which is this guy, and it uses a KSP code generator. KSP is, if you are familiar with C#, it's sort of a source generator. So this KSP is made by Google, I think. It is sort of a standalone compiled project. It becomes a source generator and gets hooked into the compiler. So when the compiler runs, it also sort of looks for the what's it called, the register attribute thingy, and it tries to find all the handlers that are there, and then it generates a file, basically the same as what a source generator does. So yeah, this runs it in the end. It creates this file. The handler registry, so every handler is registered in this. It takes the metadata from these handlers. So here's my date handler again. Date, now, description, example, and parameters. This sort of metadata is actually used in the auto-completion part. I added an auto-completion. I forgot to show you that. If we just go here, if you do this, templater dot, you get all the functions that we have implemented. And I haven't specifically like hard-coded this, but this is so generated by KSP. There is an autocomplete helper somewhere that gets the metadata from KSP. then therefore this thing knows what kind of functions are available. So we have this file move renamed same with the date. Now yesterday did it. So if we do it tomorrow, we get automatically the example filled in. So that makes it easier to actually use it. So yeah. Then let's go back to our handler, because there's other interesting things going on there. As you can see, this is the now handler. The now handler is actually an implementation of a command handler. And a command handler is a function that takes a request and returns a string. This is kind of copied from mediator in C#. I was looking for something similar in Kotlin, but I couldn't find anything. There's one library, I forgot the name, but it sort of uses reflection and does it at runtime. It's more of a service bus thingy. So yeah, basically I made mediator in Kotlin. There's a handler with a request. There's a request. The request has the metadata, which was used by KSP. And then there is a request parser. So because you use it just from a markdown file, the input is usually just a list of anything. Mostly it's strings. So then the now request knows, okay, I get some strings. My first argument is the format, the second is this, etc. What else do I have going on? I tried to implement sort of dependency injection. So there is a service container that in which you can define the services. It's not really an actual dependency injection framework, but it's sort of a implementation of one. Again, I'm not very familiar with Kotlin, so I couldn't find a proper dependency injection framework that I wanted to use. So yeah, just made this myself. Yeah, so like I said, there is an actual script executioner. So therefore there's a whole scripting engine with some methods of like string operations, array operations that basically will try to run string functionalities on a string from the markdown. So you can create scripts in your markdown, and this thing runs it. Then actually there is a parallel executioner. So well, imagine you have this document and you actually have like 5 different of these blocks. Then the original scoping of Templater is a little bit weird because the scoping is not really in these blocks but sort of in a document. So if you run this and you reuse this tr variable, then you could get some weird behavior, but in theory, if you have like 10 blocks and you have all different variables, then you can run the blocks in parallel. Maybe that's easier to understand from the architecture. So there's a dependency analyzer that checks what are these blocks doing, and if the blocks depend on each other, like the variables, the parallel scheduler will check what kind of block is sort of the lowest level block, and then there's a Kotlin coroutine executioner which can take every block that can run parallel and async execute these blocks. Is it totally necessary? Well, probably not, but I thought it was cool. So, here is the diagram to services layer. There is the settings. Let me show you the settings. So you can actually enable and disable this parallel execution. You can show statistics, or you can choose whether or not you want to execute the full document always, or only select the, only execute the current selection. So yeah, I think that covers most of it. I have some more documentation here to basically describe well, everything that should be supported. So yeah, thanks for watching.